Biden's pardons may be invalid. Make sure y'all hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. This is what's happening.
Is determined to get one done. Sure, Caitlin.
I have two questions for you. One on the flights, but first on the president's post overnight, saying that the pardons that were issued by President Biden preemptively to members of the January 6th committee.
She get a lot of questions. She always front row 1, seat 1. How does she get so many questions answered? You see all of those people that's in there? Most of those people can't get their questions answered. They don't even get called on. This woman get called on over and over and over again. I don't understand how she keeps getting called on.
Now, null and void. Have attorneys here at the White House.
Somebody said I might have to, I ain't missing nothing in NYC. Man, listen, bro. There's plenty to do in NYC. Y'all just look at one part of it. And although I think that NYC, to a larger extent, could be bad, there's some great things in NYC. There's some great things in every city inside of America.
White House told President Trump that he has the legal authority to undo a pardon simply because it was signed by Autopen, as he said.
The president was begging the question that I think a lot of journalists in this room should be asking about whether or not the former president of the United States, who I think we can all finally agree was cognitively impaired. I know it took people some time to finally admit that, but we all know that to be true, as evidenced by his disastrous debate performance against President Trump during the campaign. I digress on that. But the president was raising the point that did the president even know about these pardons? Was his legal signature used without his consent or knowledge? And that's not just the president or me raising those questions, Caitlin. According to the New York Post, there are Biden officials from the previous White House who raised those questions and wondered if the president was even consulted about his legally binding signature being signed onto documents. And so I think it's a question that everybody in this room should be looking into, because certainly that would propose perhaps criminal or illegal behavior if staff members were signing the President of the United States autograph without his.
So the question is, and the concern is, was Biden able to even pardon some of the things that he was pardoning, or were they using Autopen on his behalf to issue a lot of these pardons that was coming outside of the White House? Basically, was Biden being controlled? Now, the theory is, and what we believe over here on the Millionaire Morning Show, is that Biden didn't even know his right from his left. He didn't even know where to go when he was getting off on a White House lawn from the helicopter. Biden had no clue most of the time that he was in the White House. I don't believe, even for a second, that Biden knew most of the time what he was doing, where he was, and where he was going. I don't believe it. You can't sell me on it. I absolutely think that Biden was being taken advantage of. I think that he was a horrible president. Part of the reason why his legacy is going to be tainted is his White House residency. But I do believe that Biden was compromised. And so that is the question that people are asking, since people had the authority to be able to use Autopen to sign a lot of things, which also include majority of the pardons that he was issued. Here's it from another angle from NewsNation, basically breaking down exactly what the concern is.
President Trump doubling down over the weekend on his claim that his predecessor, Joe Biden, used an Autopen to add his signature to crucial documents. Mills Hayes is here with us this morning. So, Mills, describe this to us. What exactly is an Autopen? And is there any evidence that President Biden was heavily relying on one, like President Trump claims?
Well, good morning, Marky. Happy to be back here. An Autopen is a device that replicates someone's signature. It's something that celebrities often use to sign autographs for fans, and it provides an identical signature every single time, like almost a stamp. It's common knowledge that presidents use the device too. Harry Truman, believed to be the first U.S. president to do so almost 100 years ago. But the White House doesn't exactly broadcast that they're doing it for obvious reasons. The issue here, according to President Trump, is how much his predecessor was allegedly relying on it. And overnight, the president upping the ante, posting that the pardons signed by President Biden are, quote, hereby declared void, vacant, and of no further force or effect, because of the fact that they were done by Autopen. In other words, Joe Biden did not sign them. He continues those on the unselect committee, referring to the House committee that investigated January 6th, should, quote, fully understand that they are subject to investigation at the highest level. The fact is that they were probably responsible for the documents that were signed on their behalf without their knowledge or consent. This claim originated from the Heritage Foundation's oversight project. They highlighted signatures from pardons that the president signed, including those for Anthony Fauci, Mark Milley, and the January 6th committee.
That's crazy. That is crazy. And the more that you learn, the more that you realize that he was basically being controlled.
The signatures are identical, suggesting the use of an Autopen. They contrasted those signatures with the one announcing Biden's withdrawal from the 2024 presidential race, which they say is noticeably different. The president suggested on Truth Social, quote, "The person who was the real president during the Biden years was the person who controlled the Autopen." Here's what President Trump first said about the claim on Friday.
Crooked Joe Biden got us into a real mess with Russia and everything else he did, frankly, but he didn't know about it, and he, generally speaking, signed it with Autopen. So how would he know? That Autopen is a big deal. 99% of the time I say do it, but they come up and I sign it. But you don't use Autopen. It's, number one, it's disrespectful to the office.
Markey, so far, no response from President Biden or anyone who worked in the Biden White House. But again, this is something that presidents do use and have used for decades. President George W. Bush's Justice Department actually made a legal argument that an Autopen signature is just as valid as the president's handwritten signature when it comes to signing bills. Markey.
Yeah, so basically the argument is, and I'm going to read these Cash Apps shortly. I appreciate everybody that support the platform. Shout out to all of the new Patreon members. I'm getting a lot of alerts to people that are joining the Bag Chasers. Basically, the conversation and the argument is, was Joe Biden, again, let's ask the question one more time. Was Joe Biden able to actually authorize his signature? And did he, or was he even aware of what was going on, which included the pardons that was being issued, the mass pardons that was being issued? Did he even know who was really doing the Autopen, who was making these signatures, and are they valid if Joe Biden wasn't even aware of what was going on inside of the White House?
And breaking overnight, a new, different possible constitutional showdown. This morning, President Trump is claiming that the sweeping pardons that President Biden issued before leaving office are, quote, hereby declared void. Trump asserts it is because of the fact that they were done by Autopen. In other words, Joe Biden did not sign them, but more importantly, Trump says he did not know anything about them. With us now is former Manhattan prosecutor Jeremy Solin, who is with us by phone. Jeremy, I'll keep on looking this way here. So talk to me about this. Jeffrey Toobin, our friend, just wrote a terrific book on pardons and notes that it is probably among all the president's powers, the one that is most unchallengeable, the one that is most absolute. If President Biden pardons someone, President Trump can't unpardon them.
Yeah, that's generally a fair statement, and there's nothing in the law and the Constitution that says explicitly it has to be signed. So, he's going after President Biden's faculties, but, the question is what this is setting up for. This is just an effort to maybe make an extended version of going after other things as well, though one would think that President Trump should think this through, because if successful, that means that his potential pardons, whomever they may be, can be challenged in a similar manner down the road. So certainly there's an issue here, but you're correct. This is a pretty liberal right or ability of the president.
And again, the issue of autopens. Autopens are things that presidents have used for decades, often to sign legislation and orders. Does the use of an autopen make anything more or less legitimate than signing it by your own hand?
It does not, and I believe this has been back since roughly Truman that autopens have been used, give or take. So this is something that is not new. This is not technologically an advancement that, wait a second, now the president needs to go to the Court of Appeals and up to the Supreme Court to say, hey, can you use an autopen? This is a power grab, for lack of a better term, by the president, to effectuate whether that's revenge after people he doesn't like on the January 6th committee, whether that's, Jack Smith specifically or Fauci. One doesn't know, but it's certainly to move his ends, whatever they may be.
I personally, and I'm going to be as objective as possible on this. Two things, all right? Two things. I don't need to hear somebody else's analogy of it. I have my own opinion of it. This is what I believe, and this is what I believe in my heart. Real talk. All jokes aside, this is what I believe in my heart. I believe that these two things are true. The first thing that I believe is true is I believe that Joe Biden did not know what he was doing inside of the White House. For a long time, we have been speculating all the way up until the debate with Trump, in which we basically was confirmed that Joe Biden was out of his mind, that he had no clue what was going on. Part of the reason why the country was in shambles, and that he had diverted so far away from the things that he had stood on just when he was vice president from Barack Obama, was because that he was out of his mind. He was senile. He was showing signs of dementia. And I believe that he was being controlled and that he had no clue whatsoever what was happening. I remember he did a press conference where he was saying that he basically needed to be in the bed by 8 p.m. every night now. I remember he did a press conference where he said that he basically needed to be to bed by 8 p.m. It was shortly after the debate, right before Kamala Harris wound up becoming presidential candidate of the United States of America. He was saying that he needed to be in 8 p.m. in bed. Now, we don't know at what point he became so behind. We seen after the Trump debate, people trying to help him off stage. Obama, a lot of times when he was campaigning with him, he was pulling him and he was directing him and all of that stuff. So I do believe that Joe Biden was compromised. I do believe that he was taken advantage of the entire time, almost the entire time that he was in the White House. Now, the other thing that I believe personally, and this is just my thoughts and this is my opinion, I do not believe that we should try to challenge and remove his pardons through Autopen. I believe that maybe we should modify it and make sure that the president signs everything. I think that it should be a mandate that we should remove Autopen altogether, but it is a standard that has been used by multiple different presidents and we cannot change it now. I do like the fact that every executive order and everything that Trump does, he actually seems like he signs everything himself. So even though I do not believe that Joe Biden was doing everything that he was supposed to do, should an investigation happen? Sure, I have no problem with investigations. If you have nothing to hide, then there's nothing that should be found. But at the same time, I do not believe that we should remove his pardons, even if I don't agree with some of the pardons that he did. I think that we should keep the standards that has been happening inside of the United States of America and maybe modify and say that the president actually has to sign everything himself. And that doesn't mean that he wouldn't be manipulated or he wouldn't be taken advantage of, because Joe still could have been manipulated and taken advantage of, even if he didn't have Autopen. But I do believe that we should make sure that in the future, a president signs everything. That way it's standard. That way we can verify it, that nobody can then behind the scenes be doing stuff without their knowledge, A. And then B, I also believe that we should allow for it to stand. Does not mean that he was not being taken advantage of. Does not mean that he wasn't compromised. But at this point, it's just got to be water under the bridge, because he would have to go back and undo all of the executive orders and everything that he's done. And I just think that you just got to let that pass, and we just got to deal with the reality and move forward instead of focusing so much on what happened. All right. Again, investigation, cool. Holding them accountable, awesome. Undoing the pardons themselves, even if I don't agree with them, I do not agree with that. I think we should just let things rock out the way that it is. That's my personal opinion. I'm sure that you guys have a difference of opinion, but that is my personal opinion. Ken says, so you can commit crimes and not have to face our justice system. That's BS. What are you talking about? If they do an investigation and they realize that it was a crime that was committed, then you prosecute it. But an auto pen, the issuing and the using of an auto pen has been in use since before Biden got in office. And so this has nothing to do with not facing a justice system. That's not what we're talking about. What I'm saying is, I believe that if the president, as advertised right now, was issuing pardons via auto pen, and if the investigation finds differently, then we go down that path afterwards. But in the meantime, I do not think that just by default, because we believe that he was using an auto pen, that you should just reverse all of the pardons. That's not how it works. I do not believe that, personally. I don't believe it. Jason Bro says, I'm simping for Trump. Are y'all not listening to what I'm saying right now? I'm actually disagreeing and saying that I don't believe that the pardons should be reversed. I think y'all are broken. I do believe that y'all are broken. Come on, man. I need y'all to listen. You got 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. Listen to the words that are coming out of my mouth. Listen to the words that are coming out of my mouth. Okay? I know they're not listening, Crown. I don't understand why people don't listen. 2 things could be true at the same time, and I don't have any problem with an investigation, but as of right now, I don't think that you should undo any pardon because, again, this is a standard that was used before Biden even got into office. All right?